All right, guys, welcome to the Connecting Creators podcast. I'm Kensington Rhodes, and today I'm going to be interviewing one of my co-founders, Truman Mylin.
What's up?
And we haven't done this podcast in a long time, and I've actually never been on it, but this is our first one. We're reviving it, and really we just want to highlight some dope creators that we know, that we run into as we continue to try and build our company, Vidi Studio. And we figured, what better place to start than with one of the co-founders who's been in the space since 2016.
Professionally, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You've been on YouTube for a long time.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it.
Yeah, so we're just going to start with Truman's background, actually. I think that's a good way to just flow right into it.
Yeah.
How did you get started?
So it all started with action sports like skateboarding and scootering and stuff. And I feel like that's how a lot of people start. I heard it said one time that like if you're doing videography today, chances are you were either into skateboarding or you were a drama kid. Like you were like a theater kid.
That checks out.
Was doing like skits or something. And yeah, so probably 2006, I started filming my skateboarding videos. You know, like when you do like a skateboarding part or whatever, like you want to have it filmed, you want to show your friends. And back then, this was like right when YouTube was coming out, and I was recording at that time, it was a scootering video of like me doing I hopped on a box, manualed across, and then did a double tail whip out, like while I'm still manualing. And that clip's still up on YouTube, and I uploaded it because I wanted to like show my friend, and I was like, YouTube seems to be the easiest way to upload a video and get a link and send it to him. And I sent it to him in AIM chat, if you remember that.
Okay, yeah.
So that dates me. And which even before that, like I was doing skateboarding videos and I would upload them to Google Video at the time, which was before Google bought YouTube. They had their own platform called Google Video.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like essentially YouTube, but not as good. And I uploaded my first video on there. But even back in elementary school, like when there was like a project that we had to do and you had the option to make a video, I was always making a video. And like me and my friends would just goof around and do stuff. And it was always fun to express myself on video. But yeah, it really started for me when I was skateboarding and scootering to like really get that, I want to say get that content out there, but we didn't even call it content. Yeah. It was just like, hey, we did this cool trick and we want to capture it and upload it. And especially like you always want to, it's like about the tricks, but it's also about how you like piece it together and the song you use and things like that. And so we always wanted to have like a really cool edit. And so that pushed us in the direction of like getting into like Sony Vegas Pro was my first real editing software.
Yeah, same.
Because I was using Windows Movie Maker first for my first videos. And, you know, you can do basic stuff, but like I bought my first camera too was like a point and shoot that I was recording video on, that it was like my mom's camera that she used to take pictures of her dogs and stuff. And like, yeah, just put an SD card in there and record it, and it's like the worst footage ever. Like those videos are still up there as well. But one of my buddies who I scootered with, he got a Canon Vixia HV30, which was like a camcorder, and like we rigged it out with like a top handle on it and like a fisheye lens, and like that's what the skaters were using, because when you're riding, you could hold it above and then you'd like flip the screen out and you could see what's going on. And he got one of those, and like that was our first interaction, or like first intro to the world of like real video making besides just like point and shoot. And so like within like 2-3 months, I also bought that same camera on eBay. And, you know, of course I'm like 14. And so like that was all the money I ever had in my bank account. It was like $600 and like just saved up from like mowing lawns and stuff like that. And got the same fisheye. And it was actually, in hindsight, really cool that we did that, because like the footage matched. you know, like, whereas like if we were like right now we're shooting on the Sony, if we were having the second camera be a Canon, the color profiles would be slightly different. And so
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah,
shots
yeah.
would look different. And same with the lenses. Like if we use my 50 millimeter lens, even if we use my 50 millimeter lens on Mike's Sony right there, it'd have a different look because of the lens. Like the lens gives it a different color too.
Right.
And so in hindsight, like we really did something sweet by getting the same camera and the same fisheye lens
Oh, yeah.
because we were able to like, he would film me and then I would get my camera, film him. And like, we would like just kind of swap between cameras really easily. And it just, you couldn't tell the difference between like his footage and mine when we went to edit it.
Yeah. You just
and-
kind of stumbled on like
Yeah.
the secret.
Yeah. And like Sony Vegas also, because those were camcorders, you had to record onto tape and then you would connect your camera to the computer and then you would essentially like record on your computer, kind of like how we do on OBS. You would like hit record and then go on your camera and hit play on the tape and it would like capture, it like almost screen capture your footage from the tape. Because there was no way for you to like take the tape out and connect it to your computer. You had to like connect your camcorder to the computer, play it back. And so if we had like an hour of footage, we'd have to just like hit play and then like go get lunch and just like have it go on there.
Yeah.
But it just like really taught us how like the first intro of like actual filmmaking or video making. And then this was like middle school time frame. I know I said like 16. It was probably like 14 to 15, 16.
Yeah.
And that same friend, Matt, he was like, yo, I'm going to sign up for video production class in high school. You should do it. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. And we both signed up and I got to the first like day of the class and I show up and he's not there.
Oh no.
But it was because he was in a different like section, you know?
Oh.
But it was very intimidating because for some reason, this class was like, they let in freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors all in one class. And because like not very many people signed up to this class, you know, it wasn't really something that people wanted to do unless you were really into filmmaking.
Yeah.
And so they didn't have enough to just do like freshmen's only, like, or sophomores. So they just had everyone come together. And so I showed up and he's not there and I'm like intimidating because it's my first day of high school as a freshman, first class. So I'm standing there at like 8:30 in the morning or whatever. And I don't know anyone. And there's all these older people around me. But that class ended up being another like step in the direction of filmmaking because we were working with Final Cut Pro. We were doing like green screen stuff, like chroma keying. And then we also were doing the announcements like that. That's what the whole class was about, was like producing the announcements for the high school, which I don't know if you guys had that.
Yeah, we had those too.
Yeah, we had like TVs in every single classroom and it like played live like
And some of them were pretty funny.
yeah, like so we would do the announcements and then we would have like segments of like the weather or like news around the school that we'd go out and like film like documentary style. And then like those would be like not live, like we'd produce those and then play them like after a segment, you know? And like that taught me a lot about editing and, you know, working with, like we had like a huge B-roll library that we had access to of like stock footage and stuff. And so we like learned how to do that and kind of like storytelling and like coming up with ideas. Like it's funny, our teacher was like not teaching at all. Like he also like he was an art teacher. So he had an art class on the other side of the high school and then a video production class. And he would like come in, say what up, and then he would literally dip for the full 90 minutes and go to the other side of this high school and just be like grading papers or something.
And that's public education for
yeah,
you, right?
but he would like, so half, like 80% of the kids in that class didn't do anything but play like games on the Macs, you know. But I and another kid that was a freshman, the only other freshman there, we like actually took it serious and like we're like making stuff. And so like it was a very open-ended class. Like he was like essentially like okay, this is going to be the project that you guys are doing. Like, come up with an idea around this. Or it was just like, make a video. Like, he was just like, make a video. I'll see you in like 4 weeks, pretty much. Like, and most people didn't do anything, you know, but
Yeah.
we would like make these things and like work really hard on it. And it just taught us the first process of like, coming up with an idea yourself, you know, kind of, we didn't really script anything back then, but it was like you had to kind of plan out what you're doing, go shoot it, upload that footage to your editing software, edit it, and like, you know, do all those tweaks. But it was like, looking back, that was like a pivotal time period because it was like, now I'm going beyond just like making scooter videos and skateboard videos. It was like learning the actual process of like professional video production. And even like in hindsight, I learned a lot about speaking on camera too, because
Okay.
like, sure, we did all those videos that were like, we recorded them and then played them for the announcements. But like, that's pretty easy because like, you know, like even today making content, you can mess up as much as you want and it just like, I'll remove that. But there was one day where my professor or teacher came in and he was like, came up to me and my buddy, the only freshman's there, and he was like, "Hey, have you guys done the announcements yet? Like reported the announcements, like sat and like
Yeah.
delivered them?" And we're like, "No." And he was like, "Cool, you guys are starting today. Like you guys are doing this week."
Yeah, it just throws it on you.
He threw it on us, and like looking back, that was probably like the first time in my entire life that I ever experienced like anxiety. Like that moment right there. Like, because I was like super introverted. I still am to an extent. And, you know, every kid is very hyper aware of the sound of their voice at that age. Like, you're like just coming out of puberty at that point, and like, you know, you're just in an awkward phase of your life and you're super insecure because you're the only freshman, and like, everyone just seems so much older than you in high school as a freshman.
Yeah.
And so, like, getting on camera for the whole school to be watching you live, and like you're reading a teleprompter, so like there's that aspect where it's like, of course I, you know, had something to go like read, you know, but it was like, that was my first interaction ever using a teleprompter, and it's like, you know, sometimes they go too fast. And
Yeah.
like it's like, it was so nerve-wracking, but we made it through, and it was just like a big push in that direction of like being on camera and being comfortable like around that. But yeah, like, and then I know this is all like long-winded, but it was like beyond there, I was still just making scooter videos all throughout high school and haven't really stopped since. Aside from like, there's a few like dark years where I just didn't touch my camera for like 3-4 years,
Yeah.
but it's always been something that I've been gravitated towards. And it's just really cool to see like the pieces connect, like the dots connect in hindsight of how it all came together, you know?
Yeah. What do you think started those dark years? Or like why
It was honestly,
why
it
did it
was
happen?
the relationship that I was in at the time. Like so I got my first like real girlfriend in 2010. So I was like 16, and like didn't record anything beyond that until we broke up. Like, it was just like, I don't know, you know, you
Yeah.
kind of lose yourself in people. And
Especially that young.
yeah.
It's so easy to just your whole life gets sucked into this
Yep.
person.
Yep. And so pretty much after we broke up, I kind of was at a place in my life where I was like in college and I was pursuing a marketing degree, but I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, this is like the default thing to fall back on, is just going to school and learning marketing, you know, like
Yeah.
it wasn't really something that I was like, yes, that's the thing that I want to do. And that, like, it was 2014, 2015 where I was like starting to see other people on Instagram, like this term like videographer started coming up. And like, this was around the time that Gary Vee's really blowing up,
Yeah.
and he has like D-Rock following him with a camera, and like, you know, Casey Neistat's blowing up. And so I'm starting to see like, oh, there's like other people that are like making careers out of like being content creators. And again, I feel like even at that point, people didn't really call it content creators. Like,
Yeah.
because I remember when Mike and I were out in at Founders, like that was the first time we ever heard content. Like to us, it
Yeah.
was just like, well, yo, we make videos, you know, and then like everyone's talking about like, yo, we need to be filming some content right now, and like it really like annoyed us at first because we were like, yo, this is like a like especially at that time it was like, yo, this is like a sacred thing that we're doing, like this is like a creative pursuit, and for you to just be like, yo, content, you know, like
Get on it.
like let's bust out some content right now, like what content can we make? And it was just like up until that point, at least for me, I never like saw it as something that I like would manufacture on the spot. It was always something that like inspiration would hit me, and then it took me weeks, months to produce something that I was like super passionate about. Like some of my first like scooter videos, like I remember like I was filming them for like 6 months to a year. Like it was like, because back
That's a long time.
yeah, like back then it was like, especially like in the skating and scootering community, like you would make like a, you know, a summer 2008 video or whatever. Like you
like
would,
a montage.
Yeah, you would like name it, and like or like your year video or whatever. And so I like spent like a year making my, like just collecting a bunch of footage of my best tricks at various parks all around the East Coast, and then like put it all together. And like, you know, I spent so much time picking the right song that I wanted to do, and like, you know, making like, oh, I need more clips at this part because it's a little dull, you know, like, and
Yeah. Just getting everything absolutely perfect.
everything just perfect. And then just like when you drop it, it's like, you know, it's like just such a like a beautiful feeling to like hit upload on something that you're like super stoked about, you know, like, because I think that's another thing that's like missing in today's landscape of content creators. It's like just like let's go, like more, you know. And it's like very rarely is it like if I'm like hitting upload and I'm like, yes, I freaking love this video, it took me a while to do, you know, like, and it took me a long time, you know. It's like if I'm just like busting out videos, it's like very rarely, there's always a little bit of something where I'm like, I could have went a little harder there, you know, which I think it's a balance, you know, because, you know, the creator influencers, you know, they always talk about like just hit upload, you know, just post it before you're ready, you know. And I believe that to a certain extent, but back then for me it like wasn't like that at all. It was like if I was uploading something, it was like I poured all my energy and effort into this thing, and it was like I treated it like artwork almost, you know. Or like, you know, my videos back then, skateboarding and scootering, were like a reflection, like an expression of my passion of those sports. And it was like I wanted everything about that video to reflect that, you know. And like I think some of the best creators today still embody that. Like Roberto, like
I love Roberto's stuff.
yeah, he is a mixture, and I think he would agree with this. Like he's a mixture of things that he pushes out. You know, if they're like news stuff that he needs to get out quickly, you know, that's not like an art piece that he's working on, you know. But then he has these like storytelling pieces where it's like he's out in nature and he's at this cabin and he's speaking on a subject that he cares deeply about, and he's taking his time with it. He's like, you know, making sure all the shots look great. And I think that there's a balance of those two ends of the spectrum, you know, because like if you're just optimizing for like getting content out the door, I feel like very rarely does your audience get to see your best work. But on the other side, if you're like just putting out all this amazing stuff, sometimes that's when you like fall into that, like, I haven't created something in 3 weeks, because you're spending so much time on that thing. And like with the algorithm and stuff like that, it's like sometimes if you wait too long, like the algorithm will just like boot you, you know, like, like they're like, this guy's inconsistent.
Yeah, you get like punished.
Yeah.
And we've seen that with our own pages, with our own team. Like you take too long and it's hard to get it rolling again. It's even the mild success that I've had, you go back after a while and it's like first video on TikTok, which normally you get like a guaranteed 200 views, first video gets like 15 because it's like they're mad at you that you didn't upload.
Yeah.
They're like, if I created a fresh account, I'd get more than this. It is kind of funny the way that they tend to punish like returning creators.
Yeah, I feel that. I felt that on my TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah, how do you like, what is like your, because it's a hard way, it's like hard to find the balance of like high enough quality but not just sitting on something for forever. Like what is, obviously it's not a perfect thing, you know, but like do you have any guiding principles, or do you have like, how do you figure out when the right time is to just upload it versus like continuing to tweak it?
For me, I feel like it's just something that I intuitively know about my own process of like, I know that like anything beyond this point, I'm just like like there comes a point where you've done like not even the 80-20, but like the 97-3.
Yeah,
you know,
you're like deep.
like you're just like doing these minor color grading tweaks of like, I want to, you know, make it be a little bit cooler on this shot and not warm, you know, like where it's like eventually no one's going to notice that difference, you know? And so I think that when you notice yourself like over tweaking things, that's when the point comes where you should upload it. But, you know, it's like a gradual change, you know, when I start a project that I'm like really passionate about, it's like when I first open up that timeline, it's like almost all of my energy is telling me like, this isn't done yet, you know, because I just started. But the more that you work on it, that feeling lessens, you know, and it gets to a point where you feel more and more comfortable with this upload. And I think that you just need to be working towards that feeling as much as possible. And, but eventually it gets to the point where you're like, you know, just tweaking random stuff that doesn't matter. But, so yeah, because I think that if I would just like take that like just upload content thesis too hard, like I would just be like, you know, starting a project, working on it for 10 minutes and then just being like, yeah, this is good enough, you know, but like you have to know for yourself like what good enough means and like what your true potential is of a project, and try your best to reach that point as much as you can without overextending it. Or even if you, another like tip would be like to set a deadline of when you're going to upload. Like if you want to upload Tuesdays and Thursdays and you start this project on Sunday, like you need to keep in mind that you're going to be uploading on Tuesday at 12 p.m. or whatever, and you need to have that be like locked in. So it's like a forcing function of like, you can make all the tweaks you want up until that point, but it's like setting a goal with anything. If you don't have like a deadline, you sometimes don't feel that urgency to actually get it moving. Yeah. It's like with a 5-page essay in college, when it's due like on, you know, 3 months from now, like you're usually going to wait till that time comes. But like, mostly everyone is going to get it done. It's just like you get it done really late in the process. But if you just back that up a little bit and like make it be like an arbitrary deadline for yourself, you're going to get it done and you're going to make all those tweaks you have to make, you know? It's like that Moore's law or whatever, where it's like time expands to whatever. Oh yeah. I forget which one it is, but
yeah, I don't remember who it is, but like the task, isn't it? The task expands to fill the time allotted. Yep. I think that's how it's phrased. Yeah. And that's such a killer. Like in this modern world where so many people at least have symptoms of like ADHD or ADD, so we're always putting things off. Like, you know, like I've always had a tendency to procrastinate as well. It's so hard until like the pressure's on. It's so hard to get it done, you know? So that's, and in like the content world, if you're just making your own thing, like nobody's there telling you if you don't get it done by this date, then you can't upload it. I mean, if you got a job, then that's the case. But like majority of creators, they don't have, until they get to the point where they're like working with brands or something, you just got to make it happen on your own. You got to pick your deadlines.
Yeah, I think that that's actually a really good point for creators right now is to be professional. Like, treat your personal brand or your digital presence or whatever that is, like like creating content, treat that like a job, and like treat it seriously, and like, you know, have deadlines, have things in order, that like you're staying disciplined with that thing. Because I feel like, at least for myself, when I start treating it like this is a hobby or whatever, like
Yeah.
it's like very easy to like just kick that to the curb when things get tough, or like when you get really busy, like you're not going to pursue that thing. But if it's like, this is a part of my professional career, and like I'm going to treat it seriously, I think that that's what really helps. And especially if you're going to be working with brands, like they're going to want some sort of deadline, and they want to have you be accountable and like, you know, show up, and not be like a wishy-washy kind of creative person, you know, because it's like, for them, it's not like, it's like, I feel like some people treat brand deals as just like free money, you know, like, hey, this, like, Sony wants to give me $5,000, like that's awesome, you know. But it's like, Sony is giving you that money in exchange for like a business result for them, you know. So you have to treat it like this is a client, you know, and you have to treat it seriously, you know. You have to treat it like a business deal, and you have to hold up your end. And if you're like wishy-washy and not staying attentive to deadlines or doing what you have to do on your end, like that's not going to look good for you, you know, and they're not going to want to do more deals. So it's like, I feel like the hardest thing for creators, which is like also the thing that helps the most, is being professional and like locked in and disciplined, because that's like that's not really the creative nature, you know. It's like going back to my career in content creation, my, like what I was just explaining, like I when I was making those videos, the only deadline was like, hey, I want to have this be out summer 2008 or whatever. But it wasn't like someone was pushing me to like do this, you know. And like, you know, I probably could have gotten it done in half the time if I was more disciplined on that, or if I had more planning involved. Like I wouldn't, like I would never sit down at that time and be like, okay, I'm gonna start this baby off with this trick, this trick, this trick. Okay, let's go shoot it. It was like, you know, we're at the skate park, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna try this trick today. I'm feeling pretty good about it. And then like I just have one of my buddies film it, and I don't really care how the shot looks. It's just like,
it's
just capture what I'm doing here. But like, if I would go back, I would like plan out more in depth of what this whole flow is gonna look like. And I think that would lead to a better video. But I think that it's just very unlike the creator personality to like be very disciplined with that, you know. And I think that that's one of the hardest things about the, you know, the content creation world these days, is I feel like the ones that really blow up are the ones that stay disciplined with it and consistent. And like it's not even like their videos are the best, you know. It's just that they don't quit, they don't stop, you know.
I mean, look at the Paul brothers. They just don't go away, you know. And they got probably more haters than almost anyone else on the internet. Other than maybe Andrew Tate. And you know, whether you like them or not, like they have found a way to stick around by just being around always. And I mean, you think about, there's a lot of people that there was like those daily vlog days, you know, that's probably like around when you started getting back into video. It was the daily vlog days of a whole bunch of people. And I mean, Casey Neistat did that for a while, right? And then you had the Paul brothers, and then there was that Nas Daily guy. I don't even know if he's still around, but there's a lot of people that they did that, and some of them were like phenomenal quality, like Casey, and some of them were just like average, nothing too crazy. I'm not going to say any names, but the ones who like stuck with it, they're for the most part somewhat relevant still today. Some of them are really taking off. I mean, Paul brothers, it's crazy how much money they've made and what they've done.
I think that, like, what I think about with the Paul brothers is the ability to reinvent yourself as a creator, because I think that there is, like there's trends within the creator community of what works. And like right now we're kind of in this like, I mean, honestly, we're kind of moving into this world of long form transparency, in my opinion. Like Mr. Beast has kind of he's announced that he's going to be reducing the amount of cuts in this video, and like I saw this thing on Twitter the other day of like someone breaking down one of his most recent videos, and they were like he let his editor hold this single shot for 12 seconds. And it was like mind blowing, you know, because that was the longest that any shot has ever like stayed the same on a Mr. Beast video.
Yeah.
And you see that with, Mr. Beast. Alex Hormozy has announced that as well, that he's now going to be going back to his original, like long form, just him in his little closet that's like 2 feet wide, talking about business ideas. And then Sam Solek, he's one that, I mean, he's been doing that. And I think that has also ushered in that like less hypey edits, you know, like he's been just like making very boring videos, and it's worked for him. Surprisingly, he has like 3 million subscribers on YouTube, and he doesn't have any like transitions, any captions, any music, even. Like it's like just him driving in the car, and it works. And I think that it's just like what that is like a bounce back from this whole like Alex Hormozy captions or Alex Hormozy edit, like, or like this Mr. Beastification of the whole space. Like, I think that people are so fatigued of this like craziness, and like TikTok has coincided with that whole like ramp up. Like, I think that people are just so fatigued, like their dopamine is fried, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that people are like, I want to watch Alex Hormozy, but I don't want to be like, I don't want all these sound effects, you know? Like, and that's how I feel too.
Yeah.
Like I found Alex Hormozy in 2021 when he had like 80,000 subscribers, or he honestly, the number may have been like 30,000. Like it was so early on.
Yeah, super early.
And all his videos were just like him like sitting in a place like this talking to the camera for 45 minutes. And it was
Probably just a built-in like webcam.
just like the iMac webcam. And it was phenomenal content. And like that's when I was like, I love this dude, you know? And then it's like my like consumption of his content has like dramatically fallen in proportion to how hypey the edits have gotten.
Same.
And it's very interesting, and it's really smart of him to acknowledge that and make the pivot.
In spite of the massive success. I mean, like he's grown in like an insane way in the last 2 years. Even I don't know the number, but he mentioned it in that like announcement where he's like, I'm done with the Hormozy style edits. We're paring it back. We're taking it back to the basics. And, but he's grown like an insane amount, but to have like the wisdom of seeing like where trends are going early on, and being willing to like recognize like authenticity is going to win out over the like, what do they call it? Attention jacking, or like authenticity beats tactics when it comes to like interpersonal relationships, and that's really what a brand is, right? It's like a large interpersonal relationship. So that's really interesting to like see someone who's literally on the top of their game switch out of the thing that got them there for the sake of authenticity. Which I think, I mean, me personally, that's exactly the kind of stuff that I love. And I love Hormozy's content, but when I see the Spotify, like, because I listen to his podcast on Spotify, when I see the Spotify exclusive videos, I skip them because, first of all, I'm not usually watching videos on Spotify.
Yeah.
And then there's just like boom sounds, explosions, like random meme noises, like going on. And I'm like, I'm just trying to listen to the like knowledge.
Yeah.
I don't need all this like nonsense in the background. And so when I saw that, I was pretty excited.
Yeah,
I was
me
like,
too.
Oh, finally, like, because he lays things out in such a logical and useful way that all the weird noises and the super crazy cuts and the weird whatevers honestly, they're like distracting for the people who really want the message.
Yeah.
Like they get in
Yeah.
the way of the real message.
Yeah, because I think that it's like you're gonna attract a certain type of person from doing either one of those things. And I think that it's like, what does that say about your audience if like every single video is like changing the cut every 2 seconds and there's like Coco Melon sound effects?
Yeah.
like what does that say about your audience? Like they don't have an attention span of more than 5 seconds. Like, do you think that they're actually gonna take the advice and build a business that requires so much discipline and focus on the long term? Like, do you think that those are the same people that like can't pay attention to something, like, so it's like, I think that it's really smart for him to go back to the long form stuff with less attention jacking, because like it's what his true fans are asking for. And it's like,
Yeah.
that person is probably going to more than likely actually follow that advice in the video and do something with it than the person that can't keep their attention for 2 seconds,
Yeah.
And so it's like understanding your audience matters so much, because, that same attention jacking thing could work, like for another creator, if they like make videos for 12-year-olds or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Dude Perfect.
yeah. Yeah. So it's like, I think that it just depends on the creator and the audience that they attract, or who their ideal audience is, like how you mold the editing and the storytelling to fit that audience. Where it's like, I don't think that gets talked about enough. It's kind of just like the common advice is like, everyone has a short attention span, so we need to make these videos be like super snappy. But it's like, is your audience 12-year-olds or are they 55-year-olds that are trying to retire? Like it's largely dependent on who your audience is, in my opinion, So
Yeah, and if you're trying to get people to read, like in Hormozy's case, you're trying to get people to read his books that are like very in depth, lots of numbers, lots of graphics, like lots of charts and stuff, trying to teach you in depth about business. Do you really want people who like need explosion noises and like random baby squeals and like dolphins flying across the screen? And do you want people who like they need that just to be able to pay attention to your video? Because if that's what you need to like pay attention to something, at least in this part of your life, you're probably not going to be building the business.
Exactly.
It's like it takes a massive amount of focus. Like you're always having to pull yourself back to being more focused. And like, I mean, I'll put my phone in grayscale. I'll delete social media off my phone and only use it on like my laptop because it's way less enticing there. And like, I'm like really trying to make it happen. And for me, like those noises are pushing me away. But his books are phenomenal, like the audiobooks and the physical books. And like when he goes on podcasts of other people and they're not throwing all these weird sounds in there, phenomenal. It's like some of my favorite content of all time. But all the goofy stuff that they throw in there for the kids, where they're really trying to chase Mr. Beast. Like now looking at it makes so much sense to stop that.
I think that it also does a disservice to your community, like your audience, because it's like you're fatiguing their focus levels. Because it's like, have you ever like let's compare 2 different days. Day A, you wake up, you're laying in bed and you're doom scrolling TikTok for literally 2 hours.
Yeah.
Once you get up from that, like everything else is so much harder to do beyond that. Like going to the gym, it's like so hard. Doing anything is so difficult after that point, because what you did is you just showed your brain right when you woke up, like it's a brand new day. First thing that your brain encounters, it's not the sunlight. It's not these wild animals jumping in the wilderness like our ancestors. It's you just showed your brain 2 hours of the most crazy content that a human, like in that 2 hours, your brain has seen more novel experiences than your ancestors have did in like a decade of living, you know? and so like
You just experienced lifetimes.
Like, so your brain is fried of your ability to like do anything, focus on anything. Compare that to day B, where you wake up, your phone is still on your bedside table, for the first 4 hours of the day. You maybe go outside, do a little 10-minute walk, you come back in, you focus on your work, you got some noise canceling headphones on or whatever it is, like you're locked in. Beyond that point, everything is like easy because you didn't fry your brain with all of that content and that hypey edits. Like,
Yeah.
And so I think that when content creators are just feeding their audience all of this stuff, like especially in the case of Alex Hormozy, where he like ideally wants them to take action on something beyond the screen.
Yeah.
Like not every creator does that. You know, like Mr. Beast, it's like his business is essentially you consuming his content. And of course he has other stuff you can buy.
Yeah.
But it's like Alex Hormozy's mission is way beyond the content that he makes. Like the content is a vehicle for him to reach more people so that they can build a business and then he invests in them. Like that's his plan. And so he's like unintentionally destroying his own mission by making them be fried on their like ability to focus. They never make it to these other points. He never reaches his mission. He's just entertaining them, you know?
Yeah.
And sure, there's education in there, like very educational videos, but like, do they actually utilize that education? Or is it just like, you know, vanity, you know?
Yeah. 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 I never thought about that. How like, not only was it like annoying to someone like me who wants the pared down, more like minimalist type of content, but by making that, you're literally degrading your audience's ability to focus because you're just attention jacking.
Yeah, because I'd say that like your willpower varies, you know, like you have the ability to focus on more things now that you've deleted social media off your phone, put it in grayscale. Things are just easier for you to focus on. Whereas if you are this person that wakes up and scrolls TikTok for 2 hours, like there's no chance that you're going to sit down and watch a 3-hour movie and be tapped in. Like, unless you're like in a movie theater where it's like, there's some physical boundary, you know, where it's like, there's a barrier to you leaving, you know? But if you're just going to like sit down and consume like a course on how to run Facebook ads, like that's not going to work.
Oh yeah.
You're so fried, you know?
Yeah. If you started that day with 2 hours of TikTok doom scrolling, you're not finishing that course. I don't care who you are.
And that's honestly like something that's so interesting to me because like I've learned that throughout like doing things like 75 hard where you're like really focused on something for like a long period of time. And it's like your focus grows over that time where it's like I realized, and like I often forget this even though like I realized it back then, but it's like I realized that I could really do anything that I wanted to if I was willing to focus on it long enough. I don't know what happened up there. Like if you're willing to, like if someone goes to the gym every day for 3 years straight and they are, you know, following a protocol or training, they're doing they're not just like hitting the elliptical for every day, you know, like they're doing something, they're gonna get results, you know? So like, why don't people do it? It's because they can't stick with it. And it's like, why can't they stick with it? It's because like, we're like so fried with all this stuff that we can't focus. And like, that's why I love the book, Deep Work by Cal Newport.
Oh yeah.
Like he spent like the first few chapters of that book just kind of leading up like why focus and deep work is so important and how like you really can't produce anything of substance in this world that we live in now if you can't sit down at a table for a few hours a day. You know, like if you can't do that, there's no chance you're going to achieve anything, you know? And I think that that's like just such a thing that is like plaguing our society right now, like us young people. Like most people have something that they want to go do, but it's like the shot of you doing it is pretty low if you can't focus on anything.
It's nearly 0%.
It's nearly zero. And it's like, so it's, and this is again a reminder to myself of how important it is to not let other people's attention get to you. You know, like everyone that's making something online is trying to get the attention of someone else. You know, like Mr. Beast wants your attention, so you can watch his videos and then hopefully purchase Feastables or whatever it is. Like,
Yeah.
and if you want to also do that, like you have to get other people's attention to focus on your thing. But like you as like the creator, you really can't be consuming a lot of content yourself. Like you can't be involved in the rat race of content consumption yourself because you're going to get sucked in. So it's kind of like,
Yeah, the rat race. I like
it's like,
that.
it's
That's a good way to put it.
like you kind of have to be the one creating content or don't get involved in the game. Like, because you're going to get so sucked in to the consumption. And that's why it's really smart to remove those platforms off of your phone, at least, like, because that's like a really good first step, because, you know, having access to anything online right here, you know, like the best content in the world, like we were saying, like you can see all of these novel experiences. Like it's like something subconsciously in your brain goes like after 2 hours of doom scrolling, I think that this is what it is now that we're talking about it. It's like after 2 hours of that, your brain is like, I just saw everything. Why do I need to do?
Yeah.
Why are we going to the gym? You know, like I already saw what I'd look like if I did.
I already saw
you know?
Anatoly bent like
like
deadlift 500 pounds. You know, I
Yeah.
already saw Sam Solik doing his thing, breaking machines.
Yeah. And I think that you just don't really have, once you've seen all the novel experiences, your brain almost gets tricked into thinking that those are your experiences as well, and you're not inclined to go do them for yourself.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of like that idea of if you talk about your goals and dreams too much, you get a little dopamine hit just by talking about it, which can actually make you less motivated to go after them for real.
Yeah.
Which is like a delicate balance, because you want to talk about what you're working on so that people know about it, and when they think of whatever it is that you do, that they'll think of you. But at the same time, if you just spend all your time talking about how great you're gonna be, it feels like you already did it to an extent. And I wonder if, I mean, it's got to be a similar mechanism when you watch other people go after and do insane things and achieve their dreams. You're like living vicariously through them. It probably dampens your own drive to go and accomplish. I never thought of that connection before, but it makes a lot of sense.
I haven't really thought about it until just now, but it makes a lot of sense, you know? And I think that it really matters, like, why you're pursuing a goal. Because, like, let's say you wanted to be like Mr. Olympia or something, you know? And,
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
Just wait.
And
Give me 35 more lifetimes. I might make it.
let's say that was your goal, but deep down, it's, I mean, like on the surface, you're like, I want to do this to prove to myself that I can do it or whatever. But deep down, it's like because you want to feel loved and appreciated by those around you, you know? And like that's the subconscious reason why you're doing it. And you start telling people, yo, you post on Facebook, I just signed up. I'm going to be working towards this goal of winning Mr. Olympia. Everyone floods your comments of, Kens, you're amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. And you literally,
so inspirational.
Yeah, you start to feel that love and appreciation before you ever reach the goal. And so if you're trying to pursue a goal because you want to feel loved and appreciated, and you start to get it along the way before you ever reach that goal, you already hit that goal. Like the real goal behind the scenes is to be loved and appreciated, and you hit that by getting those comments. And so that's why you stop, is because it's like it wasn't really about Mr. Olympia at all. It was about being loved and appreciated, and that feedback from other people solved that, you know?
Yeah.
And so if you're just doing a goal because you want that to feel loved and appreciated or whatever it is, like that may be the wrong reason, because, you know, you should be wanting to do a goal because it's something that calls you personally. And it's not something that you're going to like, I'm going to do X so that I can receive Y from my brother-in-law or whatever, you know, like it's it's like I want to do X because I've always wanted to do X. I'm excited to get there, you know?
Yeah.
I'm excited to climb this mountain and see the view at the top. I'm not climbing the mountain to have people say, yo, he's an excellent climber.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I think that, so
And
it's,
even just for the experience, like,
yeah,
it's not even just for the
journey along the way.
Yeah, it's not even just for the view at the top. It's like the actual act of climbing the mountain. Like, I think it's, I mean, we already talked about it a ton, but Hormozy says, like, the goal is not what the work gets you. The goal is the work. And, like, the point is to find some type of work that is fulfilling in the moment, like, divorced from the result. Like, if you can enjoy that moment in the actual, like, where you're slogging away, you know, whether you're in the gym and you can actually enjoy, like, pushing yourself right there in the gym, and it's not just about getting bigger muscles or getting more fit, you know, if you can actually enjoy the actual hiking process and it's not just about the view, then not only are you, like, being fulfilled throughout the whole way, but you're probably going to get a lot further than if
Yeah.
you're just chasing a result as well.
Something that's related to this, when I ran that 40-mile marathon, that was, like, for me, the greatest lesson of this whole thing. You know, like, I wanted to do that because I saw, like, the distance of 40 miles was from my parents' house to the house that we have in Maryland on the Chesapeake Bay. And I remember being down at the bay when I was younger, and my uncle rode in on his bicycle. And I was like, and he's like in all this gear, you know, like the spandex and everything. And I'm like, did anyone else just see him roll up on a bicycle? Like,
Yeah.
where did he just come from? And they're like, oh yeah, he biked here from, like, because my whole family all lives in the same area. And they were like, yeah, he just biked here. I was like, from Willow Street, Pennsylvania? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, how long did that take? And they were like, 3 hours. And at that moment, it was like a new room opened up in my brain of, like, what's possible for the human to do, you know? Because I'm, like, so young. I'm like, what? You can just bike somewhere that far?
Yeah.
And so I decided that I wanted to run that distance. And like, I told my uncle this, like, I was like, you're the reason why I wanted to run that. Cause, like, that inspired me. Like, that was, like, super crazy of a thing. And so I wanted to, like, one up it by running it. And, like, we're, like, a competitive kind of people, you know? So he was like, yeah, that's awesome. You know, like, he's, like, proud of me, you know, for saying that. But it's like, like, you'd think that running the actual 40 miles and accomplishing that was the thing that was, like, I would remember for the rest of my life. But it's really the training of 9 months that I really, like, in hindsight now that it's like 2-3 years ago, that's the real juice right there, because that's what made me, you know, like, that's what turned me into, like, a guy that can actually run 40 miles was the training. And that was the hard stuff. Like, the 40 miles was hard, but it was like, I prepared for it. And so it's just about going through the motions and executing. The hard stuff is when you're going from someone that can't run, like, a mile without being gassed to now I'm on a training regiment that I have to be running, you know, like, Monday it's 5 miles, Wednesday 7, Friday we're back down to 4, and it just keeps getting higher and higher over the 90 days or whatever, to the point where it's like Monday I'm doing 9, Wednesday I'm doing 7, and then Friday I'm doing 20, like, and that's, like, training, you know. And what's interesting is I was using I have 2 pairs of Hoka running shoes. One was the pair that I was using to train, and the other was the pair that I bought brand new to run the 40 miles. And I remember, like, buying that pair of shoes at, like, Shields, and I was like, these are going to mean so much to me because these are going to be the ones that I run the 40 miles in. And I thought that I would love wearing them. Like, I thought that I'd be like, you know, put them in a glass box type of thing, you know. But when I see those 2 pairs of shoes on the ground now, I get more hype when I put on the old training shoes than I do putting on the ones that I ran the 40 in. And it's, like, such like, is so backwards of how I thought it was going to be. Because it's like the new pair that I ran the 40 in, they still almost look brand new. They don't look scuffed up. They don't look worn in. The other ones are like every little mark, maybe not to this extent, but it's like every mark I know like what happened. You know, it's like there's a story there. You know, it's like, whereas the other ones, it's like they're barely scuffed up because it's like,
Yeah.
it's like I brought them brand new and ran the 40. It's like that's a pretty light wear on running shoes if you're really serious about running. You know, like my training shoes have hundreds probably of miles on them.
Yeah.
You know, and it just is such a good metaphor for like the journey is so much more important than the actual destination. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and if the only thing you're focused on is just the destination, at least for me, it starts to feel like this negative motivation, like this dark motivation, dark energy behind it, which sometimes you need the dark energy as fuel. But if that's the only thing that fuels you for a long time and then you make it to your destination, that's when you see like people just crumble. That's when people like, you see these professional athletes who like after they finally retire, like all of a sudden, you know, they're depressed. Mm-hmm. Like there's stories of Olympians reaching their goal and then committing suicide, or like, and it's because if you're only fueled by the dark energy, then it feels like once you make it, there's like nothing left to do, and all that time that you put in was a waste because you were grinding yourself to dust the whole time.
Yeah.
But if you're fueled by like an enjoyment of the process and the whole thing is fulfilling, then the destination is just like a cap on like an awesome experience. It's just like
it's just like a pit stop along the way.
Yeah, know? It's even more than a cap.
It's not like a destination. It's just like, this is something that is going to be a, you know, someplace that I pass through, you know, like, but it's, I really believe that I don't know. It's like, I feel like people shouldn't be going after goals to get anything external, you know, like, or like anything, to like, I guess anything internal, like unless you're trying to like prove to yourself that you can do something. I think that's really powerful. Like that's what fueled me. But when you're again trying to play that game of like, I want to become a millionaire so that my parents respect me, like that's like a losing game, because your like happiness and fulfillment is relying upon if someone else is going to give you that thing, you know? But it's like, what if you could just get rid of all that, not have to do all those mental gymnastics, and just be okay with them not respecting you?
Yeah.
Or like, you know, why do you feel the need to have your parents respect, you know, like, or, you know, maybe that's a tough one because everyone wants that, but it's like,
why do you feel like you don't have it?
Yeah, why do you feel like you don't have it? Or are there adjustments that you can make here and now that would give your, like, not change your personality or not jeopardize your relationship with yourself, but like, are there things that you can do right now that would have your parents respect you aside from becoming a millionaire? You know, like I think that it's just like, you should try to be as happy as possible without anything before you go trying to achieve things to then give you happiness, because like then you're golden. Like you can just, if you're just, I'm cool how I am right now, like I'm happy with myself, I like the man I see in the mirror, then it's like, okay, cool, now I'm good. What do I want to go achieve now?
Yeah.
Like it's like, if you're happy, you're good with yourself, like you're at a good place with yourself, but you want to drive a Tesla to just enjoy your life a little bit more, that's awesome. But if you're like, I hate myself, I'm only going to feel good about myself until I drive a Tesla, that's a bad recipe.
Yeah,
that's
how you get burnout.
You know? Yeah. So I think that it's just like, you should try to work on that as much as possible before going to achieve those goals, because I just don't see it panning out well, you know?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, I had a conversation with my dad like a year or two ago, and we were talking about like, you know, like what is the purpose of life, and like, you know, what like, what are you really after? And he was like, I'm chasing happiness. Like, I want a happy life. And in his mind, like, happiness is not like the fleeting pleasure. It's like it's a long-term feeling. And I was even saying to him, I want something even more than happiness, at least the way I view it, which is fulfillment, because it's pretty hard to be happy all the time. Sometimes I just wake up and I'm not in a good mood. But if I take a day where I'm in a bad mood and I go do something that's fulfilling, like I push myself in some way, I do something that I feel like expanded me as a person, I might still not be happy because sometimes whatever's going on, you're just randomly not happy. You're frustrated, you're
Yeah.
angry, whatever. But I can be fulfilled at any given time. And I feel like fulfillment is like at least the way I define it, is a more lasting state than being happy.
Yeah. Because going back to that 40-mile run, I had a very interesting experience on the last 3 miles of that, because I was running with AirPods in, and I had like the Strava app tracking my whole thing. And so every like mile, it would say like mile 24 or whatever, and I was just running along and it said like mile 38, and I was just like, I like started crying while I was running.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm going to do it. Like, there's no shot that I'm not doing it. Like, I've ran 38. I got 2 more. It just, for the first time in that whole run, it actually set in that I was going to do it. Whereas, like, I had probably one major period where I was like, I could stop right now. And I'd have a good, like, I did 25, like that. It was still the longest I ever went. But I was like, this is tough, like I was like contemplating stopping, and, it turned out that like no one could come pick me up at the time. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to keep running. Like I had to like trick my brain of being like, you can stop at any time, but in the meantime, just keep running, like you can tap out whenever, just keep going, like, and like I had to trick myself into just doing it. But I got to mile 38 and I started crying a little bit because I was like, this is one of the first times in my life that I like pushed myself to my edge,
Yeah.
And I feel like I haven't done that in like my whole life, like gone to the real edge, like everyone has like an edge of like, they give themselves a pat on the back of like, I did a good job today. But it's like, when like that whole training experience, running that distance taught me that we have so much more gas in the tank than you think. Like I got to mile 25 and every part of my mental, physical, spiritual was telling me, yo, you did it. You did enough. Go back home. Like you're good, but I was like, I can't, like I set out to do this. I have to keep continuing. And then it's like literally right when I kept going, because like at the 25-mile mark was this little like convenience store that's like in a really small town, like, and I come in there, I'm freaking drenched in sweat, panting. They're like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
And I like got like a sandwich and like a Gatorade, and I'm just sitting outside and going through all that mental thinking. And then I just decided to keep running. And it was like right when I made that decision to keep running, it was like, I'm back in. Like, it was like, I had so much more energy. I had so much more drive. Like, it was like the colors were brighter all of a sudden. It was like, I'm out of this darkness, and it's like, and even like all throughout the training period, I've experienced it. Like I made a TikTok on this back when I was doing those, of like the second wind, and the second wind happens in running, but it happens in all of this other aspects of life as well. And it's like related to Seth Godin's book called The Dip, where like everyone hits a dip, but it's like the ones that really succeed are the ones that like ride it out and like go beyond that. And it's like, when you understand that there's a dip coming, Like that's just part of the human experience, is like when you do anything difficult, there'll be a dip. But when you can just keep pursuing even when that dip hits, like, and it's not to say keep doing it exactly how you were doing it, but you may have to make adjustments or whatever. Like you may have to get a Gatorade, you may have to sit down and eat a sandwich, you know, like
Yeah.
you have to do some things to make it be possible for you to keep going. If I just didn't consume any water and I'm like, we got this, you know, like I'm going to die on the way there. Like you can't be foolish and just keep aggressively pushing without like precaution and doing the things you have to do to make it be like safe to pursue, but like keep going on that journey. Like if you're like on a road trip, you got to fill up on gas, you know, you got to do things, you got to change the tires, but like that doesn't mean you got to stop. And it's like when you pass through that dip and you decide to keep going, it's like the universe, God, whatever, rewards you with like an extra level of fuel, you know? And because most people don't, like they just hit that first thing of, it's like feedback hits their nervous system of, hey, you should stop, you know? And it's like they immediately are like, Roger that, you know, like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop, you know, because my body's telling me to. But like it tricks you so much, you know, like there's so many different times where I was training where I had 20 miles on the schedule, and there was one time I got like I think I was doing half marathon, so it's 13 miles, and I got literally 4 miles in, and like my ankle, like I did something on my ankle, and it was like I was limping, and I was like, this is messed up. Like I can't keep running. But I just like did like a limp for like a while, and then it was like eventually like it went away. It was almost like a miracle. Like it was like,
Yeah.
just keep running. It kind of like warmed up my muscles again, and it kind of like just went away, and I ended up doing the 13. And it was just like such a powerful lesson of like life will throw these curveballs at you, and you have to just keep going no matter what. And again, you still have to do things to make it be okay to keep going, you know, but like it's really just a test, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and sounds very Goggins-esque, you know. It's like the 40% rule, and you know, he says like your mind has a governor in it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, it's like an RPM limiter. It's like there's a certain point where it's like, all right, we've had some fun, now chill out. But like the real magic is always beyond that first wave of resistance. And I mean, just like you said, like I try to think of like, okay, when are the times in my life when I've pushed beyond like that initial difficult period where you feel like I've done enough? And like I feel like it's not very many times in life where you're like, okay, I actually like went way beyond what I thought was like reasonable amount of effort or reasonable amount of pain. But those times are like, not only are they incredibly character building, but they're like extremely valuable memories. You know, every single time you do that becomes a core memory. It becomes like a piece of who you are and the way you see yourself. Or like a cookie jar, like Goggins says, like every single one of those is like a valuable building block. Like there's never a time where you push beyond that it doesn't become a meaningful moment in your life.
Yeah, I think that those moments are super powerful. Like everyone should go through those because it sets a new bar of what you believe is capable for you. Because it's like, you know, all this like mindset stuff that people talk about, and like even like I guess like law of attraction-esque stuff, like limiting beliefs. I think it's like a lot of people try to just like force the belief in themselves. You know, like I've never run 40 miles. I've run 2 miles, but I believe that I believe that I can do 40, but it's like, I've always been a huge proponent of like, you don't really believe yet, you know, because you haven't done it. Like you haven't gotten close to that yet. So
If
it's
you
like,
did, then
if you did,
could do
then
it.
like, like, but I think that a hack to have belief in yourself is just simply doing that thing and then the belief becomes natural, you know, like,
It's like that another Hormozy quote. It's like it's not about yelling affirmations in the mirror. It's about having a stack of, I think he says, undeniable proof that
yeah,
you are who you say you are.
yeah,
It's like when you think about it, if the only thing you're relying on is just affirmations, and I'm not like against affirmations, but if that's like the only thing you're relying on, like you have no tangible proof that you can do whatever it is that you're saying you can do. Like, not only do you know that you're lying to yourself, but like people who are close to you know that you're not that guy.
yeah,
And the way to become that guy is just do what you say you are. Like,
yeah,
do the things to make you into the person who you're trying to be. And then the affirmations don't even matter, because it's like there's things that I don't have to tell myself.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I know that I speak Korean. I know that I speak Japanese. I know that I speak Spanish, and they may be all rusty right now, but I don't need to go around looking in the mirror and saying, I'm so good at learning languages. No, I just know that I've done it.
Yeah,
Like, I don't have to think
yeah,
about it and reinforce that in my life. Like, I have those experiences. I've lived in those foreign countries. It is what it is.
yeah,
There's no need to sit there and hype myself up about this.
yeah,
And that's how it's got to be. Like, if you're just hyping yourself the whole time, like, maybe it gets you that first like nudge in the right direction to do the action, but in the end, the action is what gives you the confidence.
yeah, exactly. This is exactly what Mike and I were talking about, like the other day when you were having that call with AppSumo and we were over there talking. Like, we were talking about, he was bringing up like he really wanted to focus on confidence right now, and like it was kind of in the health context, and we were talking about the same thing of like it's not about really like gaining more confidence by affirmations or like believing that I should be confident or whatever. Like, it's about like doing the thing that's going to naturally bring that confidence into your life, like undisputable. Because, and like we were just kind of making all these analogies related to it. Like, if you are in a room of like a bunch of like millionaires or like people that have net worth of like over 10 million, and you are stuck at the 6-figure amount, like there's no reality, in my opinion, where you walk into that room and you're like pretending to be like them, and they believe you. Like, you're gonna be unconfident in that setting if you're trying to be like them, and like you're failing in all these different areas. Like, there's no way that you're gonna like look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I earn $10 million a year, you know, like it's just, you're breaking a fundamental law of reality that like the like, this was the thing that like I was saying, like, what's easier, you know, like spending a lot of time convincing yourself that you should be confident, you are confident, all these things, or is it simply doing the activity that gets you the confidence naturally? You know, like there's no way that like you're gonna go to the gym for 2-3 years, get into the shape of your dreams, and then not feel better about yourself. Like, but if you do feel worse, then that's when I feel like affirmations should be like, that's like, if you actually achieve all the things that you say you want to do to get confidence, and you achieve them and you still feel unconfident, then that's where it's like you have an internal thing going on. Like, you have something that you need to work on, where affirmations could be beneficial. But like, I feel like it's like the first step is doing the activity that's gonna get you that confidence. Like, you shouldn't try to manufacture confidence yourself. Like, you should just go after that thing, you know, and become the person that can go to the gym every day for 3 years, or, you know, have the body that you're trying to get, or the relationship that you want, or the marriage that you want, you know, like, just simply work on getting that thing, and then you're going to naturally feel confident that you can do that thing, you know, like you were saying with Korean.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you like didn't have affirmations that were like, when you were like trying to learn Korean, you probably weren't like, I know I can learn Korean. I know I can learn. You were just so driven and passionate to learn it, you know?
Yeah.
And
And I was not very good at the beginning. I mean, I was fine. Like, I wasn't like horrendous, but like I didn't really it wasn't like I just like naturally picked it up really easily. Like the other guys that were around me that were learning, I was like middle of the pack for the most part, but it was just consistently trying to improve a little bit, and eventually got to the point where, all of a sudden I'm like completely confident in any situation, anywhere in the country, doing anything on my own, no problem. Like it is what it is, whether it's reading government documents or talking about politics or whatever, talking to people about Jesus. Like it was, you just get to a point where like, because you don't stop all this, like confidence is no longer a question. Like I don't think about like, I need to be confident when I'm speaking. It's just, I just speak. It just is what it is. Like it's just part of life. And I think any skill can eventually get to that point where like, there is no need to hype yourself anymore. There is no need to like be in the perfect frame of mind. You just lean on your experience. You lean on the skill you've developed, and it's comfortable.
And that's true confidence. Like I feel like especially like a lot of guys in their early 20s or late teens that are in that like ripe age of like getting into like red pill stuff, like they are, or like pickup game and whatnot, like they are so focused on confidence at that stage, and like they're like looking up like
hacks.
Hacks, like how-to guides to have confidence. But it's like, and they say things like speak in a deeper tone, or like walk around with good posture and puff out your chest, like but it's like they try to like do those things like too literally, where it's like, yes, those could be the things, but it's like, it's not like you just do those things and you're confident. It's more likely the case that confident people just tend to do that, or, so it's like, you shouldn't be trying to be like confident in your early 20s. Like you should just be pursuing the activities that are going to give you confidence later in your life. Like I think that like that time period is like, you should be unconfident in a lot of areas of your life. Like if you live the average age of 85 or whatever, in your late teens, early 20s, you're at the front end of your whole life. How are you going to be confident in anything that you're doing? And so that's the time period where you need to be laying the groundwork. You need to be hitting the gym every day. You need to be, partying less and reading more. You should be doing things that are gonna, when you're in your 30s, you can look back and be like, yeah, I'm confident in these things because I've been doing them for so long, and it's like, they just want to get this quick fix of confidence, where it's like, that doesn't solve anything, because anyone that actually has confidence knows that you're not confident. Like when you're in a room of like when the dude that comes into the gym wearing like the tank top and he's super skinny, but he's acting like he's the biggest guy in the room.
Yeah, he's doing the
like, no, like
doing this.
Like no one is like intimidated by that guy, or like no one, like Uncle Joe is looking at him like, yo, this guy's cool. You know, like it's like the guys that are like the least showy in the gym are usually the guys that are like the sleeper builds, like Uncle Joe doesn't walk in there with a freaking stringer. Like he's like just wearing a normal t-shirt or like a
he's
hoodie
wearing his
or
what
whatever.
up boost shirt.
Like
his baggy sweats.
It's, and like that principle is like, he has nothing to prove. So it's like, why do I need to show off that I have huge guns right now? Like I know that I do. I don't have to prove it to anyone. So I'm just going to wear what's comfortable for me, and that's like what true confidence is, and you only get that through long years of work,
Yeah. And I mean, it kind of goes back to like what we were talking about at the beginning of like, authenticity is this, I don't think it's like necessarily a wave or a trend, because humans have always appreciated authenticity, and we just find better ways to express it with new technology. And that's kind of that's like my view on like this move away from the Hormozy style and beastification of everything, is like, it's not so much that everybody was being inauthentic, it's just we're finding how to be authentic in a new medium, which is always hard. Short form video, how do you be authentic? Well, first you kind of got to no one knows what they're doing yet, so we're all faking it for a little while. Now we've moved out of the faking it stage, and the people who really know what they're doing, they're leaning heavily into the authenticity. And like, I think for me, growing up as like an intensely insecure kid, moved a lot, had to make new friends everywhere I went, so I was always the new kid, got bullied, thrown into trash can and rolled down a hill, like all these types of things. The only way that I ended up finding like the ability to be comfortable with myself was just to like stop trying to fake it till I make it, and just to own the weaknesses and like own them publicly, or at least like in daily life with people. Like when I first started going to the gym as a 110-pound 22-year-old, if I was walking around being like, yeah, I know everything about the gym, and I was going around telling Uncle Joe how to work out, I never would have made it. I would have hurt myself. I would have pissed off everyone around me. But by just going in and being like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm real small. I don't really like my body, but I want to work on it. Like, can you teach me what's up? Then the people who were around, all these big, huge guys that people think are so scary, they'll come over and give you tips. They'll come and tell you what to do. They'll give you, they'll help you tweak your form. They'll give you encouragement. And then you can be yourself. You don't have to try and be like them. You can own the fact that you're undeveloped, that you're raw, that you don't have everything that you want yet. And the people who are already ahead of you, who've done what you want to do, they're going to be so hungry to help you because they see themselves like in you. They see their younger selves in you. And I think this, like, so much of life is about like pulling off our masks. Not that masks are useless. Like, there's definitely cases where like it makes sense to be more professional in a certain situation, or like, maybe you're somewhere where it doesn't make sense to be like swearing a lot, even if that's like your norm. But the more that you can pull off the masks and let people see who you really are, not only will you connect more authentically, but they'll respect you more, and you'll feel more confident because you're not being fake. You're not lying to yourself, and you can just be who you are and then work on improving who you are, but you're not putting up a facade anymore.
Right.
And it's kind of cool to see that like maturing that happens in humans also happening in like the content world. Like, if you look at the early YouTube days, it was early adopters and a lot of really nerdy guys, and people they were just kind of throwing stuff out there, which is a lot like childhood, where you don't really have an ego yet, you're just doing whatever. But then you reach like the teenager phase where like you're so self-conscious. And I feel like that's kind of where, that's probably like the late, or probably the mid like 2010s to like about a year ago was probably the teenager phase. And like up to like mid 20s. And now we're entering this like mid 20s to like early 30s range where it's like, okay, I'm comfortable, I'm confident, I can be authentic, I'm not trying to fake people out. So it's gonna be interesting to see like, what are the next phases in the future, like beyond this initial phase of being authentic. Be interesting to see.
I think that it's so important to, this is like kind of related to what you're talking about. Like, I think it's important for people to become creators later on in life, in my opinion, if they're going to be talking about anything, like, because they've found themselves more. Like, they're not in that teenager phase. Like, I'm like so glad that I didn't pop off when I was trying to when I was younger, because it's like I didn't even know who I was, where it's like now I'm not worried about other people's opinions, because it's like I know who I am. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm trying to say. If you don't interpret it the right way, then that's on you. Like, I'm not like my self-esteem isn't wrapped up in like comments, whereas like if I was 14 and blew up, like it'd be a different story, because you're still trying to find yourself. I think that it's just like so much healthier, I guess would be a better word, to like experience success online later, because you know what you're talking about more, hopefully, and you're not so wrapped up in your self-esteem isn't not coming from other people as much. Like, at least random strangers online, you know. But
Yeah, even people close to you, like as you get older, at least my experience has been that even the opinions of the people closest to you matter less and less. And I've also noticed that like the less you value their opinions, the more like they respect you and the closer you can become. Like with my brothers, who are the two people that I'm probably the closest with in the world, like we rip into each other all the time, and yet it's very rare for someone to be like actually offended, because we've been ripping into each other for years. For like, I'm 31, Jesse is 25, Zach's 23. Like we've been tearing each other to shreds for 20 years. And so like at this point we're like, I don't live my life to impress them, even though they're like the people I'm closest to in the world. And because like we're not living for each other, I feel like we appreciate each other even more than when we were younger and there was like all this jockeying for position, It's just an interesting way that like by being less attached to other people's opinions, you actually become closer to them with time. And I think that kind of is also reflected with creators. The less you care about the comment section and whatever hate you get. I mean, obviously you need to like be somewhat open to like feedback.
Yeah.
But the less you care about like what other people think of you, the better your like art is going to be. The better your, we're using the word content again, but like the better your stuff is going to be, because you're no longer trying to please everyone else, and it just mirrors human relationships in so many aspects.
Because I think it's related to like in like school, when there's like a bully that picks on a kid, like what they're really doing is like trying to get that kid to react, and that the reaction is what fuels the bully to keep going. But if the kid doesn't react at all and is unfazed, the bully kind of just moves on to another victim. And it's like that with your audience a little bit, because I like over the course of my journey online, like especially in my earlier days on YouTube, like I've had nasty comments or just like haters, and like I'd feed into it a little bit, and it's like you never win, like it just becomes a back and forth, No one, there's never going to be a time where like the person that left that comment is going to be like, I really was out of line. This conversation really helped me, and you're right, they're never going to say that. And so like you responding to them is not really like, what's the goal? Like, what's the goal of responding to them? It's never going to like amount to come to a healthy conclusion, And so you just kind of like don't pay attention to them. And one, it affects you less. And two, like they just stop commenting because like they know that they're not going to get a reaction out of you, But if they knew that every time we comment on Ken's videos, he leaves us a rant, and it's hilarious, like they're going to keep doing it because it's funny, And so you just can't give that back to them, Like you just have to not care about what they say, and you just have to do what you're going to do,
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I think that might be a good final thought.
Good place to end.
Do what you're going to do and don't care what others say. And I think that's a pretty good place to end it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Truman. Like I said, this is the first episode of the revamp, so we're going to be playing around with it. We're going to try and make it better as time goes on. So if you've got ideas, let us know, and we'll be having more guests, not just the co-founders of Video Studio, but other creators as well. Some will be in person here, some will be just online, but we're just going to try and get people, regardless of like their success on whatever platform. We just want people who are really embodying the idea of a creator. And so stay tuned.
Stay tuned.